does setup matter in Assetto Corsa EVO? Well, we're going to find out today. I'm going to go out on track here in this GT car for the first time, the Ferrari Challenge GT car. And I've never driven this car before, so first of all, we're going to get a few laps in with the default setup, and then we're going to load a setup that I've had made for me, and we're going to see how much better it feels. Let's do it. Right, so driving Suzuka in the second time I've driven this circuit, and I also only played this game previously when the full suite of cars weren't available. So it's my first time driving a properly quick car. It's all been Golfs and things like that before. The S2000 was the best car to drive. So I will say straight away, I'm not a massive fan of GT cars personally. I like the road cars and the Formula cars, but GT cars not a huge fan. But we'll see how we get on with this. Again, this is completely default setup, exactly what the game's given us as we've gone out on track. We'll see how this feels. Certainly got a bit more power than the other cars. Oh my, how much understeer through there? That's not even flat. Is that normal? I know we're not on an F1 car anymore, but is that not flat? Surely with a setup that'd be flat. I don't know, we'll see. That was a lot of understeer. That felt like it was almost taking the weight off the front, or like the diff was set up wrong. That felt wrong. But yeah, it's chronic understeer on power. Surely that's fixable setup straight away. Right, yeah, well, we'll do about 10 minutes of practice or so with the default setup. Get a reference time. Yeah, it's just understeering like mad on throttle. We'll get a reference time, and then we'll see if we can. I'll see how much we can beat it by. You hope we can beat it with a setup. 7 gears in this one. No, we don't. That 130R is going to be nowhere near flat. Down a gear. Yeah, that's all right. You can see my foot moving there in the bottom of the screen. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest, considering that's my first lap in this car, track combo. And as always, Assetto Corsa EVO feels great. It really does feel like a nice game. Oh man, we're really lacking that front end. That's going to be quite a big difference, I think, with the setup. Right, turn one's going to be tricky. Yeah. Oh, we're okay. Thought I was going to go deep. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's not even really oversteering for me, is it, ever? No, I have no real slides about to catch as such. Traction control, of course, helps with that. It's just all about that massive understeer on the throttle. That's the only real issue I've found. Obviously, you always want a bit more grip, a bit more stability as well, if possible. Oh, can this be flat now? Is it just lock? No, it is just, it's nothing I'm doing wrong. It is just chronic understeer there on power. That's interesting. Right, let me do a few more laps, and I'll come back to you when I've done a decent lap, and then we'll load the setup. Okay, 208.3 first flying lap. Let's see if we can beat that. We'll have a second up, don't mind me. Well, honestly, that felt pretty good. I'm going to keep going. Another lap or two. 1.8 seconds found. Well, not a good start. Well, despite losing 2 tenths turn 1, and obviously this time the lap anyway, we found half a second that lap, so there's about 7 tenths then in the lap at least. Let's go again, one final lap, see if we can get into the 5s maybe. Well, definitely the best first set we've done. Half a second up, nice. Eight tenths. Well, that's more like it. 9 tenths up this lap. That's a lot more like it. Well, there you go. That's about as good as I can do. 1.1 seconds found on my previous best. That's a lot more like it. But that felt pretty good, I've got to say. That felt pretty much, I'm not going to say on the limit. I'm sure the real quick guys can probably go over a second lap faster than that. But that felt like a decent lap. I'm happy with that lap time. Let's load the setup and see how much quicker we can go.
This month, I am doing a January sub challenge, where for every 10 subs we get on YouTube, I will do 1 lap of time trial. That means if we get 1,000 subs in January, I have to do 100 laps of time trial. So drop a sub if you want to see that. Let's get back to the video.
All right, so I've applied the setup. Let's see how different it feels. I will say it wasn't a wildly different setup to default, which means the defaults hopefully are pretty good. Because I had the guy who makes all our F1 setups for VSE make this one. So we'll see. The biggest thing I want to get rid of is that massive front end understeer. I think there's a lot more time just by getting rid of that understeer. Already I can tell you, front end, oh my god, yeah. It's a bit driven by the rear at the moment, but the tyres are still a little bit on the colder side. Let's see how this feels. Now, I will say there's no adjustments to fuel level, there's no adjustments to aero, so in terms of like wing level or anything like that. It is just basically just suspension settings. All the settings available. This car just doesn't have any aero adjustments in terms of wing. The only thing in the aero tab is ride height. And yeah, I mean, the front end bites so much harder that it's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. Well, hello. A little bit of oversteer there, but look, we're in a race car. We want the most performance. We want a little bit of oversteer. We don't want it to be sliding all over the place, of course. Now, this bit here was only just flat before. Let's see. Yeah, easy now. Easy flat. Look at that. I've been taking that little bit of grass on the inside to make sure it was flat. This wasn't flat before. Easy flat now. Yeah, that's a massive difference. That's a ginormous difference. Whoa, hello. Okay, yep. Bit of a steering there. Just been a bit too aggressive inputs. Maybe we need to get used to this new setup. Let's do a couple of laps here. Let's see if we can beat our 2:05.4. Yeah, way better. Way more command of the car into turn 1. A little bit oversteering perhaps. So perhaps it's a little bit too far the other way. Maybe could do with being a bit more stable, just to give you that absolute confidence to be able to push. But it's definitely nice to actually have a front end on the car now. Yeah, see there, it's oversteering a lot now. But I think honestly, if you want to be quick though, this is the sort of car you need to be able to drive. But for VSE, and if the setup does become available on VSE, we'll try and stabilise a bit more on this. Although it's fine, it's just I just think it's a little bit too much. It's definitely a lot better. Like this section wasn't even flat, was it, on the early laps previously without a setup? That's not good. That was a bit of a mistake by me. I can carry a lot more speed through there. And through here, this first bit wasn't really flat. I had to brake early. Yeah, I got a little bit deep, but that was mainly because of oversteer. I had to brake early there before, though, just to make sure I was actually being able to get around that corner. I honestly think it's already going to be a second lap quicker plus lap 1. And there's definitely some more time in it for me getting better. Oh, yeah. Honestly, it's not hard to drive, though. As long as you're capable of catching oversteer, it's fine. Right, 2:05.4 to beat. Yeah, 2:04.4. First lap, we found a second. There's going to be more than that in it as well. What I could get a bit more on board with this, the way this car handles now. I reckon there's probably another second, maybe. There's a good chunk, I reckon, though. Well, there you go, end of that lap. 2.5 tenths found. We can definitely get into the 3s. I'll tell you what, I'll do one more lap because I want to get into the 3s if we can. 1.5 seconds would be a lovely amount of time to find. Come on, one more lap, let's do it. Ideal. Keep messing that core up as well. That's still legal apparently though. Held back quite heavily by the traction control there. Although it's a little bit slidey than I'd like. That corner is the one corner I've definitely been held back by traction control. A little bit deep. Where's the apex gone? Where's the apex gone? Well, we're about a tenth down, as I said. I think I'll come back up against a bit of a skill issue now. I definitely think it's possible to go quicker. For me, otherwise, well, I would like the setup to be a little bit more stable, just not quite as slidey, like not too different, but just a little bit. That's too deep. Just a little bit more stable would be nice. This line here, I'm going to slide. There it is. You see, it's just a little bit too on edge, I think, but it's probably fast. I would just like to compromise it by a tenth of a lap, to allow me realistically to be able to find 2/10 a lap, because I'm just that much more confident with it. But 2:04.2 is our best lap. We found over a second, 1.2 seconds with a setup. Clearly setups do something in Assetto Corsa EVO. Now, just to make this not a complete ad, what I'll do is I'll give you this setup for free. I'll show it on screen right now. This is effectively our prototype setup. It's the first time we're trying to set up that Greco's made for VSC, but we are going to be selling AC EVO setups on VSC, so do check it out, Virtual Setup Engineer. There'll be a link to that down in the description, but as I said, have this setup free as a baseline. We may end up tweaking it. It might not end up being the setup we launch, just because I do want to stabilize it a little bit, but just to not make this, because we ended up front of the second, it seems like an ad now. Have that setup for free, but definitely setups do something in Assetto Corsa EVO. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye bye.